I know that we're doing chapter 12, verse 1 today, but it's real interesting because it sounds like a new beginning, like the whole story starting over again. Stay tuned.
Holy Spirit, come and refresh me. Holy Spirit, come.
Welcome to Through the Bible in 5 Minutes. I'm your host, Brad Keeney, as usual. And today we're doing episode 41. So remember, there's 40 episodes before this if you really want to get this in context and understand how this all fits together. And these are our short and simple Bible studies to try to help understanding in Revelation, get the gospel out and get people feeling comfortable with Jesus' return. And that's why we're doing Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 through 6 today. But we're also asking you to like and share and subscribe so you can keep posted on these things. And again, if you have any questions, there's a comment section. I have to admit I'm not great about getting to that, but I'll try to get to that. And also remember to share these with other people. And if you don't know what the gospel is, I'm going to try to put it right up there so you can check out the gospel. It's a short presentation like all of our presentations. We try to keep them simple and short. And that being the case, I believe we need to get started here. So again, Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 through 6. Let's start with Revelation 12:1. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with sun, and with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Most everyone agrees that this is Israel as the woman. There are some debatable things. Remember, we can all debate these things. These are meant to be short studies, not to describe every detail or to look at all the possibilities. But and everyone I saw who referenced that points to Genesis chapter 37, verses 9 through 11. Now, this might be one of those ones where I'm going to want to remind you again. You can always pause this video and go look up those scriptures. Or if you touch on the left side of your screen twice, it'll back up 10 seconds. You can hear it again. Or if you touch on the right side of your screen, that is if you're in the YouTube app, I should say. If you're not in the app, this may not work. But if you touch on the right side of your screen, it'll speed up 10 seconds. So at any rate, Genesis 37, 9 through 11 is pretty much what everybody referenced on this and who this is. So moving on to verse 2. Then, being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And remember that Jesus was born from the tribe of Judah, from Israel. So, and later on we're going to see clearly this is Jesus. Verse 3. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven, and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. We all know that from verse 9, for example, just in the same chapter in Revelation, it says very clearly this is the devil, or Satan, so we know who the dragon is. Now, this devouring the child should bring a remembrance to you of Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, for example. It's one of the places that talks about how Herod tried to kill the babies who were born around Jesus' time to try to kill Jesus. And that's only one time that the devil tried to wipe out the Messianic line. Remember, the book of Esther is all about that also. So it's a kind of a common theme. Now we're going to see later on that this is Jesus for sure also, because he's going to rule with a rod of iron. And in Revelation chapter 19, verse 15, it says very clearly that's Jesus. So let's continue. Verse 5. She bore a male child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So that interesting time period we're talking about, pretty much everyone, not everyone again agrees, but pretty much everyone agrees, or most of them I should say, that this is the second half of the tribulation period. Remember, a Jewish calendar is 360 days. So the 1,260 days we're talking about here in a Jewish calendar is actually 3.5 years or 42 months, or half of the 7-year tribulation period talked about in Daniel chapter 9. So Now, here's an interesting thing. Where is this? Well, we don't know for sure. Like a lot of things, these are debatable. But my favorite place to consider, actually, is a place called Petra. And you can look that up on the internet where Petra is. But Petra means rock, and Sela also means rock. And Sela is used in these passages I'm going to give you now, and you can look these up for yourself if you're interested. But I think they may speak to maybe this is where the Jewish people are going to be hid during this time. But I could be wrong. But again, it's Isaiah chapter 16, verse 1. And also Isaiah chapter 42, verse 11. Anyway, there's some food for thought. And we'll be continuing on our entire line-by-line chapter and verse trek through Revelation in our next episode. Hope to see you there on Through the Bible in 5 Minutes. God bless.